Say with me, when the music stops, did it matter at all? Say it again. Did it matter at all?
Did it matter at all?
John chapter 4 and verse 20. Our fathers worship this mountain. He say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Our fathers worship this mountain. Father, I thank you for this day, this opportunity. As we stand before you, asking that bread from heaven would feed us till we want no more. Give us ears to hear and a heart to receive and a mind to react. I pray that no one will misunderstand anything I say. And I pray by the unction of the Holy Spirit of God, you would allow me to passionately speak into their life. Every father here, every mother, every son and daughter, let no one escape your intimate touch. Cause us through the preaching of the gospel to leave here different than the way we came, that we might carefully walk out so that it might matter. In Jesus' name, amen. Our fathers worship this mountain. Ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where the men ought to worship. What you're looking at is a reference to the fathers that seem to bring a sense of comfort to a daughter. Seem to bring a sense of comfort to someone who had a history with fathers and their worship. There's no way she can relate to the fathers and their worship if she had not had a history of the fathers and their worship. Best understand this, there's a couple of questions we need to answer. I call them who, what, when, and why of this text. And consider what Jesus had to say in the statement made so quickly in response to her interaction with the Lord's ability to see into her life and accurately read it. Who is this woman? Well, we really don't know because the Bible puts a secrecy around her name, but not her story. He didn't give us her name. I don't know if he's shielding her from embarrassment. Don't know. All I know is we do not know her name, but we do know she's a woman. The Bible said this woman come from Samaria to draw water. And Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. Well, just like her, oftentimes we do not know we're about to have an encounter with God. And yet God has a way of bringing us to a place where we have these encounters with Him, gratefully so. Out of that encounter, things happen. Out of that encounter, information is given. Sometimes very much needed information. She comes to draw water, and Jesus just happens to be there. This is a very familiar story, as we have heard it ministered to many a times. But here in her encounter, she wasn't looking to meet Jesus at the well. Many of you in your life was not looking to meet up with the Lord, but you end up right there in the place He wanted you to be. Amen. And even though you wasn't going to a well to draw water, you were going somewhere to do something and come in contact with the Lord. Old folks used to say, I went to a meeting one night and my heart wasn't right. Come on now. Come on, y'all remember that. Well, something didn't know that was going to be the day. Something got a hold of me. I just went because everybody else didn't go. I was raised in a house where we couldn't say you don't go to church. You know, I went. I knew my heart wasn't right, but I didn't know something was going to get a hold of me. I remember one Thursday, I got on my knees and prayed because everybody else was down there praying.
Yes.
But I didn't know, not something, but someone
Come on, yes, sir. Come
would
on,
get a hold of me,
Yes, sir.
change my life.
Yeah.
And trust me, if you ever come in contact with him,
Yeah.
he's going to change.
Come on now.
Come on, somebody else say it.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
going to
sir.
change my life.
Yes, sir.
Isaiah put it this way. He said, I am salt of them that ask not for me.
Yeah.
I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me unto a nation that was not called by my name. Theology wrapped around this verse is synonymous against the fact that God will show up in the lives of people at unexpected times and change things about them.
Amen.
It's at a well that this woman is going to meet Jesus. Wasn't it at a well where Jacob found Rachel? It was at a well where Rebekah was found by the servant of Abraham. This no-name woman had a date with destiny. And even though we have not a name, we have her story. Some people think it's kind of jacked up, but I beg you to think a little bit differently about this woman because she had influence. No one is influential and not be able to draw people like she had unless she had influence. Sometimes we look because of her history and think this woman was a woman of low degree, but I beg to differ. Even though her choices might seem to think it, and sometimes we look at certain choices people have made and we're quick to discategorize them as being anybody of any note. But I want to applaud before you today, this woman was a woman of great note and character, for people trusted her enough to come see a man.
Amen.
Now somebody with a history of running through men wouldn't attract people to just one.
Come on now.
Come on now, we can talk real in here.
Yeah.
Somebody with a history of running through men wouldn't attract anybody to just one man. It has to be somebody special that's saying, come see a man.
Amen. Yes.
Get it out your mind if this woman was so low. And think on her as a woman who had the ability to convince a whole town.
Amen.
You know, some of you can go to some people and say something and they wouldn't pay you a lick attention. This woman came to the whole town and drove them out.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that in a minute.
Amen.
This no-name woman who people think lived a shady life. Go through scripture. I beg to differ that she was, even though a Samaritan, lived a life of guaranteed respect. For they respected her enough to follow her. Who were the Samaritans? That's the what of it. What is a Samaritan? It was a name given to a mixed breed that was given. Not given, but actually created, because during the days of the Old Testament, they would have these times when Israel would act up so that God would allow them to be conquered by their enemy. God would allow their enemy to come in and conquer. And it was under one of those times that they were conquered by the Babylonians and the Assyrians. They were taken away from Samaria, the covenant land. They were taken from that land. And instead of allowing them, they brought outsiders to occupy their inheritance, which was actually one of the prophetic curses God said would happen to them in Deuteronomy if they get out of sorts with God. And throughout the Old Testament, their history was like a roller coaster, up and down. They did evil in the sight of the Lord. They did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Over and over again, we see this merry-go-round, up and down, up and down. It was through one of those down times that God allowed them to be chartered away from their inheritance. And one of the noted passages that is so historical about it is by the rivers of Babylon. They sat down and wept because they remembered Zion. They were being taken away from what they loved and the place that had a religious grip on them, only to be taken into far away land. And when they remembered Zion, the Bible said they wept because they hung their hearts up, couldn't sing no more, all of that kind of good stuff. But they were being chartered away from their land. The king of Assyria brought in some others. He brought in others. In 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24, the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Kutan and Abba. These are other nations that they had conquered. And they decide they're going to bring and mix it up. They bring them all into the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. This is an indictment against them and their behavior because God is going to allow this to happen. You notice the word instead is there because they were supposed to be there by covenant. Just because you have a covenant from God does not mean He's going to uphold it as long as you are not doing what He say do.
Well.
There are conditions to the blessings of God. That's why the Bible says if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. The good of the land is always there, but it's not going to always be available to you. You got to meet the condition, and the condition was if you do good and well, you eat the good of the land. Here they are intermingled, and they come up with this breed of people they call Samaritans, who had this capital city called Samaria. And they had built a temple in Mount Gerizim. And they afforded this as the place of worship. Laid claim to being true worshipers of God. There was a breed of Israel, some Israelites who had scattered and came in amidst them and intermarried with them. And they began to have religious dealings, but the Jews would have no dealings with them. And one of the more interesting times in the history of this division was when Ezra, in the book of Ezra, Nehemiah was rebuilding the temple, and they came wanting to help, and they said, no, we don't need your help. So they got mad and tried to fight them. Now, Sanballat and Tobiah, all of them were Samaritans. They came down and tried to fight the very cause at one time they wanted to get with and help support. And it's amazing how the enemy will want to come and help you. When they find out you don't need no help, you want to work and wait on God, now they become your very enemy. You didn't have my good intentions in mind in the first place.
Come on now.
Bitter was the spirit between the Jews and the Samaritans. They had nothing to do with each other. In travel, they would go way out of the way to make sure they don't come in contact with them. So why would Jesus engage this woman? Why would Jesus engage this woman? She comes to the well. Chapter 4, verse 7. She comes to the well to draw water. And Jesus says to her, give me to drink. Now you got to look at this in this Greek text here. Because it's not arrogance, it's not pride. It's a very solemn, welcoming, inviting, intercourse and conversation. And passion is wrapped all in it. He don't say, give me a drink like I'm your master and you my slave, or I'm above you and you below me. He says it as an equal to her. To the part that it draws her in. She knew the Jews had no dealings with the Samaritans. They would rather not even eat nor drink. For Jesus to ask her the way He asked her was striking enough to her for her to open up curiosity to Jesus. We must be careful. We must be careful. Because I don't believe there's a person in here who do not want to make Jesus known to somebody. But it's how you talk that can either be inviting or make them withdraw. You can be so mean and nasty even though you want to save people. You can be so mean and nasty in the way you talk that they don't want to hear nothing about you or the Jesus you say you serve. Besides, I mean, let's think about it from the outside. If you love Jesus that much and that mean and nasty, that means He hasn't changed you. What are the conditions by which He would change me?
Yes, sir.
They need to see a change. They need to see some sweetness in you, some niceness in you. They look at how you act and think, boy, if that's Jesus, I want nothing to do with Him. When you open your mouth, they already done tuned you off. Y'all know what I mean. Some of y'all turn people off and they don't even know what they're talking, and you ain't paying them no mind because you don't have no confidence or credibility in anything they're saying and doing because of the way they've already talked and the way they've already acted. You want to make Jesus known, make sure you know Him the attitude is sin.
Yeah.
It needs to change. Somebody say it needs to change. It needs to change. You need to learn how to speak to somebody before you speak in tongues. Let's first learn how to speak to one another. Before you start speaking and singing so special and being so blasé with all your holy spirituality, make sure you got enough of the love of God in you that you can treat your neighbor right regardless of who your neighbor is. Thank you. I will. Jesus interacts with this woman. It doesn't push her away. The Jews and the Samaritans had this fixated problem, and she could quickly identify that he was not one of hers. But yet still invited. This is great. On our jobs and in our interaction with our family, especially unsaved family.
Come on now.
You hold the key to either bringing them in or pushing them away. My God, enough pushing been done. We need to bring them in. Somebody say amen. We must be careful how we engage folk in conversation. If we truly care to win them to Jesus, our words must be with kindness.
Yes, sir.
Colossians, Paul's letter to the church was like this. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. Y'all cooked yesterday. Somebody shook some seasoning. Somebody put some flavor in the food. Some of it was so good, some of you brothers went back to thirds. They seconds, thirds. They packed up food and left it in bags and stuff. So good. And took boxes out. They should have been here, man. They put flavor in stuff. They didn't have food that didn't taste bad. There was no leftovers. You know it was flavored good. Everybody was drawn in to the flavor. I'm telling you, a Christian with flavor makes people want to come around them. A Christian that got flavor in their life makes somebody want to hear them when they sing. A Christian with flavor in their life makes somebody want to sit at the feet of Jesus and hear what he has to say. Because Jesus was a man of flavor. Sinners didn't even mind being around him. Drunkards and publicans didn't mind being around him. A little short fella got up in a tree trying to get to him. Who's trying to get to you?
Come on now.
Who wants to be around you? Who wants to hang out with you and hear you? Or do they make sure they avoid you at every cost? I found a picture. I didn't think enough, but I put it up. The old-fashioned way we blocked the phone because we had no rotary phones, remember? I'm over somebody's head now. I'm barely in there, but we had no rotary phones. So the way we blocked it was what? Took it off the hook. And you don't know that. We took it off the hook. You couldn't call me if you wanted to. You couldn't get nothing out of me. All you could get was busy. Why? I don't want to be bothered. We took it off the hook. And there's some people, they done took you off the hook. They don't want to hear what you got to say. They don't want to hear what you got to sing. You've been so mean and nasty until you get before God and let God change you so that your worship can mean something. Then it'll mean something to somebody else. Let your speech always. You must be careful that if you don't have the right thing to say, don't open your spiritual mouth.
Come on.
I've been there myself.
Amen.
And I've had to learn to say I'm sorry.
Well,
I've been there myself. Talk out of turn. That you may know how you ought to answer. I can tell some of you ain't praying before you open your mouth. Because of what come out. I don't know what to say. You're going to make sure I knew you gave $100 in the offering. You ain't talking to God. Why you got to rub in my face what you did before God? You ain't get mad at me if you want. I got your envelopes already, so it's too late. You give me back. You ain't talking to God. Oh, Brother Wiley, I saw you the other day. The Bible says if you see somebody overtaken in a fault, ye that are spiritual. If you all that spiritual instead of talking about them, get on your knees that ain't got no scars on them now. Let's get some on them now and pray for them. Clap your hands and give God praise. I'll get out of here. Who? What? timing of God is never wrong.
Amen.
Traditional walls are about to come down.
Yeah.
That's why I like this church like this. You know, black, white, old, young, fat, skinny, everybody in here.
Amen.
Somebody said we all in here. Yeah, sick, well, all of us in here. Broke and healthy and wealthy, all of us in here. We all in here. I know some of y'all got it. You sitting on it, but you good. We all up in here. Some of y'all broken and I don't know what. I need to give you a few. Catch me out there. You all right? Amen. We a family. Somebody say family. The timing is come. God's going to bring people together. In order for the disciples to know, they have to see an example. They have to see the timing is right. Because we had nothing to do with you. I didn't like black folks, you didn't like white folks. If you didn't like black, I didn't like white folks. We stayed on the other side of the fence, but thank God we are all together here today. And the devil gets no glory. To God be the glory for the things he has done. Somebody clap your hands and give God praise. Hallelujah. Jesus in me. Love Jesus. Timing is right now. Traditional walls are about to be destroyed. Y'all say, Pastor Wiley, y'all sing different kind of songs. I know. Traditional walls have been torn down. Jesus was giving a hint to the salvation of the Samaritans and to the whole world as we know it. Because right now, you know, he's sent to the lost sheep of Israel, but he's about to go to Calvary. Calvary is going to open the door for people that nobody thought could ever be saved to be saved. He's going to open the door so that the black man and the white man can worship together. He's going to open the door for us to be able to come together and think of the goodness of Jesus and all he's done for us. He's going to open the door so the man that thinks he don't deserve would feel like I got a place in here and I can come right in here without a suit on. I can come in here without a dress on. I can come in here and I ain't got money and I can freely taste and drink of the living water. Somebody clap your hands and holler, shut up! I can come. Oh, yes. They wanted nothing to do with Jesus. One time, he sent the disciples into Samaria. He said, look, I want y'all to prepare the Passover. I'm going to celebrate it. The Bible says in Luke chapter 9, verse 52, he sent messages before his face. And they went and entered into a village of some Samaritans to make ready for him. Need y'all to get ready for Jesus. Jesus is coming. And the Bible declares they did not receive him because his face as though he would go to Jerusalem. Well, I got to go because if I don't go to Jerusalem, you won't be able to take a seat at the table. You trust me, you're going to need a seat at the table. This Passover that you celebrate is going to have real true meaning after I die. Right now it's just something you're going through. Y'all worshiping up in this mountain, but at the end of the day, it don't mean nothing unless I die. Goes there and they says, no, we don't want nothing to do with you. And it was in this same story that James and John rose up with anger and said, Lord, why don't we call fire down? Burn this city up. Show you something about the compassion of the Lord. And he told them, you don't understand. He told the disciples, you have no understanding what's going on here. They're rejecting me, but they don't understand. I could call fire down if I choose to. But I'm a God of mercy, and mercy always trumps judgment.
Come on now.
You were right for the fire.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes, sir. Don't look at that, man. You were too. You were right for hell. God so loved the world, he gave.
Thank you, Lord.
Jesus fashioned another story about a man. Y'all remember the man, he fell among thieves. And there was a priest that came by, and somebody else came by, and had nothing to do with it. But Jesus said a Samaritan would come by, and he would deal with him with compassion. The Bible said the Samaritan came by, and when he saw him, he could not keep going, knowing that man was in the condition he was in. I just wonder who in here can keep walking when you look and see Pastor Wiley in a certain condition. And know I need attention. Know I need some compassion. Know I need prayer. You know some of the worst times to fall in need is amongst Christians. That's some of the most stuck up, stingy, selfish people you'll ever meet in your life. But God is changing that and raising up a people that you?
Yes, Lord.
Or are you going to bring it out?
Yes,
Are you going to show
Yes, Lord.
some compassion? Jesus,
Thank you, Lord God.
it was Jesus' words to his disciples
Yeah.
as he gave this story.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, I want you to go and do what this man did. He said, go and do likewise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all know the story. The man took the man, bound up his wounds, poured some oil in there,
Yeah.
took him to an inn and gave some money.
Yeah.
He said, look, take care of him. And if it costs more than what I've given you, I'll come back and give it to you. But just take care of him.
Yeah.
Don't leave him like this. Don't throw him out in the street.
Yeah.
Don't throw him in. I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Don't give up on him right now. See, that's my story. My mother, you know, while they were saying throw him out, they didn't know that these years later I'd be stood up talking about you a good father. They didn't know that all they saw was a crack addict that was strung out on dope, and they were so busy looking at me and my drugs, they couldn't see that God would raise up a preacher in my life. They didn't know that God had a purpose and a plan where I would roll around before boys in such a way they would not want to leave their dad. They didn't know that one day people whose lives had been shattered and a man who had lost his father 56 years ago would be standing here broken saying, I got a father. They didn't know. They didn't know that. Oh, we were doing our thing. God had a plan for us.
Thank you, Lord God.
They didn't know. Glory to God.
Thank you, Jesus.
They didn't know.
Thank you, Lord.
It was his words.
Yes, Lord.
Jesus said, you go and do the same thing.
Yeah.
You remember those 10 lepers? They were Samaritans.
Come on, God.
Yeah, they were from Samaria.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
come and holler, Jesus, heal us. They were lepers. And the Bible says, Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest. In faith, they started going. But while they started going, they started noticing my skin is changing. My flesh is renewed. God is healing me. I was sick unto death, and I should have died. Somebody ought to be clapping by now. But I'm healed now. And now the best thing I can do is turn around and go back to him and holler, thank you. Thank you for what you did for me. Thank you for how you set me free. Thank you for how you made a way. Thank you for how you brought me out. Thank you for what you're doing right now. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Bible says one of them. 10 of them are healed. But only one of them say, I got to go back. I need to tell him thank you. I need to tell him thank you. Look at somebody tell him that's me. I need to go back and tell him thank you. You healed me. You delivered me. You helped me.
Thank you, Lord God.
I need to tell him thank you. So the Bible declares. The Bible declares that the one turns around and goes back. And here's the key, y'all. Not only did he satisfy with turning back, because the Bible said when he saw, he turned back.
Come on.
Everybody else kept going. It wasn't enough to turn back.
Right.
He went back to Jesus.
Yes, he did.
You don't get at his feet from a distance, y'all. He told them to go. And while they went, it was as, I don't know how far they got from Jesus, but they got far enough that he needed to do some effort to get back. And some of y'all been delivered enough. You need to go back. Some of y'all been fixed enough. You need to go back and go back to praising God. Go back to stop sitting on the pew waiting on somebody else to pump you up. But you ought to thank for the goodness of Jesus and all he's done and give God a praise. You might say, listen, I ain't used to clapping. But when he did that good to you, you ought to clap. When he did that good to you, you ought to clap. When he did that good to you. Somebody holler, he's good like that. Oh, bless his name. Y'all sit down for a minute. I'm not even in here. It's like I need to be in here. Y'all push me. Jesus says, I'm going to send the Holy Ghost. I'm going to send the Paracletos, the one called alongside to help. I'm going to send him because you got a mission to do. I'm going to send you out, but I'm going to send you with power. I'm going to send you out in Acts chapter 1. You're going to have power. After the Holy Ghost has come, you'll be my witness. You were representing yourself until I come in. But now you're going to represent me in Jerusalem and in all Judea. And look what else he said. Even in Samaria. You're going to go the very place they don't want you. You're going to go the very place they didn't think they need you. You're going to go to Samaria. And not only that, Samaria, the uttermost parts of the earth. So we see the traditional walls being torn down. And unknowing to this woman, but known to Jesus. This moment, somebody say a moment. A moment in her life is pivotal to the whole nation. This is purely a providential moment in the providence of God. Providence is the sum total of God, who has the ability to bring expected things together at a time of his appointed and bring them together to make something happen that he is preordained to happen. That's providence. God will use a donkey to be in the right place so he can open his mouth and talk to somebody. God will use you to be in the right place. The other day I called a brother, called him at the timing of God. Called him at the time. I didn't know I was in the timing of God. God knew I was in his timing, and he knew he needed it. All we did was just avail ourselves to the will of God, and the next thing you know, somebody's life is being bettered. One day God moved on me to call a lady. I didn't know it was the day she had wrote a letter. She's going to kill herself, y'all. She was that wrote the letter. She had made a will. She had made everything to leave to me and my wife. She told us, I didn't want it at that expense. You know, you can leave me what you want if you want, but die natural. Don't kill yourself. Come on now, somebody say amen. She had made her will. She was so messed up and so despondent, she was going to kill herself. We were just starting heart-to-heart ministries then, and the Lord led me to give her a phone call. Saved her life, because it was that phone call that I told her there was value and purpose in her life, and that saved her life. I didn't know what I was doing. God knew what I was doing. I didn't know that woman that wrote a letter had already decided that night she had set things in order and she was going to kill herself and end it. But in the providence of God, he had me call her at the right time on the right day. Suppose I wasn't in sync with God and didn't make that phone call. Suppose I was too busy trying to put my sermon together and didn't make that phone call. Suppose my wife had come and sat in my arms. That's a good time, man. Suppose I decided I'm not going to do that. Praise for God. Suppose I'd been so messed up and jacked up. I decided I'm not going to do anything. No, you got to follow God. So Jesus draws this woman. I'm going to get out of here. He draws her into his plan. She does not even know how great a part she's about to play in the plan. All she knows is she got a lifestyle that people look out from the outside as being jacked up. Jesus says, look, just give me a drink. Look at somebody telling me, give me a drink. Just give me a drink. I'm thirsty. Give me a drink. The woman says, look, how is it you being a Jew, you're going to ask me of a drink? Look, I ain't need all this. I just want a drink. I'm thirsty. I've been traveling. They're going to get some meat. I need a drink. Jesus, what are you up to, man? You're God in the flesh. You can get nourishment from somewhere else if you want. You don't have to have a drink from this woman. What are you doing? Why are you sitting here looking at this woman and you're asking her to give you something that you can get for yourself? Why are you asking this woman to draw up water when all you got to do is command nourishment to come into your body? It sustained you 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. How can he do that? Because he nourished himself. Hallelujah. He nourished himself. Didn't need no water, but I need you to open up and talk to me. I need you to come to Bible study. I need you to ask a question so that we can ask another question, so we can dig into your life and you can get help. I need you now. I need you drawn into me so that you can understand that I am El Shaddai. I'm the Almighty One. So he looks at her in the human side and says, give me a drink. This woman looks at him and says, look here, you know we don't have no dealings with each other.
Come on now.
Why are you asking me this?
Come on now.
Jesus said, I'm glad you asked. Verse 10.
Come on.
If you knew.
If you knew.
If you only knew.
If you knew.
I don't need you, you need me, you just don't know. If you only knew. If you only knew. Some of y'all sitting in here and you think you did God a favor coming to church today because it's Father's Day. If you only knew. Now, God, I feel like preaching to you. If you only knew what God can do for you and how He can pick you up, turn you all around, place yours. I feel like really on solid ground. If you only knew how He can take your cancer and disappear. If you only knew how He can take your tumor and disappear. If you only knew how He can open your blind eye. If you only knew who it was you were talking to, you would ask, give me a drink.
Thank you, Lord God. Yes, sir.
If you knew. Please sit down. Give me a few more minutes.
Come on, you got it.
Give me a few, just a few.
Yes, yes. Come on, bro.
If you only knew,
Yeah.
I would be the one you would be asking for. But I'm asking you because you don't know you need to be asking me.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Come on. Come on.
that messed me up.
Set it up. Set it up.
I need you to understand.
Yeah.
You don't need me, I need you.
Uh-huh.
I don't need you, you need me.
Yeah.
We all a part of the family, right?
Yeah.
But what we fail to realize is the very thing God trying to help us understand.
Yeah.
Is that we need Him.
Yeah.
You need Him every day, every hour.
Yeah.
Not just an hour in church on Sunday morning. You need Him.
Yeah.
He said, look, if you knew, you would say to me, give me the drink. And I would. And I would give you not just a thirst quencher, but I'd give you living water. Now, I told you, it is always wonderful how Jesus opened up these natural concepts to help us understand some spiritual ones. Is there anybody in here ever been thirsty before? Let me see your hand. Anybody ever been thirsty before? You ever been satisfied when you go to that fridge and get your cup of water or your bottle of water? You know, he told her, he said, look, thirst, I know you can relate to thirst. It took a 2-mile journey for you to get here, so I know by now you're ready to drink too. You've been talking to me a while too. So I know you're thirsty. 2-mile journey to get from Sycamore to the weather. 2 miles. I did my homework. 2 miles. That's a long walk. We drive that far and get tired, don't we? I was laughing with them the other day. I said, look, man, I done got so spoiled. When I drive somebody somewhere and I take them down and I have to let a wheelchair down, that means I got to get up. Oh, Lord. I get up. Now I got to let them down. I get out in that heat. I'm so quick to get back in that bus, put the air on and close the door. Don't want the hot air getting in here and mixing with the cold air. I done got ruined, y'all. I ain't up in the attics no more pulling water. I'm in this cold bus. Leave me alone. Yeah. Let me be concentrating something else, ain't it? Nothing more refreshing than a glass of water. I understand because my brothers that work construction, I know what it's like to be so thirsty, and yet the boss wants you to put up one more stud. You ready to take a break. That thirst is getting on you, and yet they want you to put up the rest of this wall, or pull the rest of this room of wire. You know, when we had big wire pulls, I used to be scared because they did not want to stop until that wire come up out that pipe. And sometimes I used to be praying, Lord, let that wire come up out that pipe so that I can get a drink, because this has worn me out. Life will wear you out to where you need refreshment. Somebody say that. It will wear you out till you need something that will refresh you. My brothers and sisters that work hard out in the sun understand. After so much working in the sun, you gotta stop. You gotta get some water. And the people at home, you gotta understand. If you don't let me refresh myself, I'm gonna give out while trying to do the work. And there's some people spiritually, you have not learned how to stop and get a drink of the living water, and you're still trying to pump out of a dry pump, and you can't pump out of no dry pump. You gotta be restored and refilled and renewed. The drive to be satisfied. This woman says, huh? You ain't got nothing to draw with.
Come on now.
You don't have a thing. She's trying to understand a spiritual concept from a natural perspective. Because remember, he told her, you give me this, I'll thirst again. But if I give you this, you'll never thirst again, because I have living water. Remember that? All right. And so she's thinking, maybe he's got a well somewhere I don't know about. He had to draw. He ain't got nothing to draw from. Maybe he's got some Fiji water. You seen that Fiji water bottle from the artesian mountains of the Fiji Islands? I was working at somebody the other day, and I went in their house, and they said, "You look thirsty. Let me give you this big old brand new bottle of Fiji water." Thank you. I took it. Took a drink, man. That's good water, y'all. It costs a little more, but you can taste the difference. That's good water, man. Test that water, there's no impurities in it. When we first bought our house, this big old man, bigger than Keith, came to sell us a water softener. And he sat in our chair. He didn't know I worked at the Tree of Life. At the Tree of Life, we had access to good stuff. And I had water from Tree of Life. And he come trying to sell me this $100 softener. And I'm trying to tell him, I don't need it. I got water to drink. He said, no, you need this. So I said, look, man, here's the water. I gave him a bottle of some of that exotic water they shipped in that cost a fortune that we got for a little or nothing. And he tested the water. He tested the water. And I look at his test. Now, he had already tested the city of St. Augustine water. And we come to the conclusion you can't drink this stuff. You ain't telling me nothing I don't already know. That's why I got this stuff right here. I'm going to drink this. He went and tested that water. And when he saw how pure it is, my wife sitting back there, he begged for a bottle of it. He said, would you give me a bottle of that water? He sat there and turned it up and drank the whole thing. He broke my chair drinking the water. I told my wife, the funniest thing ever happened to us. After he tested how good that water was, he begged, didn't he, Ron? He begged for a bottle of that water because he never tested nothing so good. That's why when you give people to Jesus, if they can just get a taste, if they can just get a taste and see that the Lord, I got to go home and eat a Father's Day meal. Oh God, but somebody needs to taste and see that the Lord is good. That man, he turned that water up there, Andrew, asked for a bottle to take with him. Only after he left, we realized he broke our chair. I ain't had no way of sending nobody no bills for my chair. And he got water out of me. True story. I didn't know that was coming up. But what's so vivid is how he begged for a bottle of that water when he saw how good it was, how pure it was, how his test proved this to be some good water. Look at somebody and tell them, I tested it. There's some good water here. Can't you feel it flowing? There's some good water here. Can't you feel it coming down out of us? Can't you tell there's some good water here? There's some water here that's flowing from Emmanuel's vein. There's some water that came out of his side when he was pierced that made way for the cleansing of the nation. There's water and it's good. Well, I really got to remember. The woman says, look, you don't have nothing to draw with. Are you greater than Jacob who gave us this well? You ain't got no bottle of Fiji water. The drive can run us insane, can't it, y'all? Amen. The drive will make you go all kind of places. Do all kind of things. I never forget, I went to another city just to be a part of a concert. I was driven to that luxury. The drive in life will make you go places, won't it? Make you do things. I went from cigarettes to marijuana, from marijuana to cocaine, from cocaine to other stuff I don't want to talk about. Till I ended up a crack addict, and my mother said, you ought to put him out. That drive will run you crazy from woman to woman. That woman understood what a drive was because she done had 5 and had another one she's working on. Still couldn't be satisfied. That drive is something else, y'all. Some of y'all went from one thing to another. Still ain't satisfied. Why? By design, nothing satisfies like Jesus. You'll always be hungry again. Jesus satisfies. By design, that pill never do it. You'll end up on crack. You'll end up on painkillers. By design, it's never going to satisfy. You'll be running to and fro. Jesus answered her and said, whoever drink of this water, whoever drink this water will thirst again. But the water I'll give them, they'll never thirst. The water I'll give them, I'll sell it to them. Now, you got to be thirsty. Yeah. You got me thirsty now.
Yeah.
That woman is so thirsty now. She want what he got.
Amen.
He done did it, y'all. He done messed her up.
Yeah.
She got nothing else to say but, sir, give me,
Yeah.
give me,
Give me.
give me
Yeah.
this water.
Yes.
Verse 15, she says, look, sir, give me this water that I thirst not. You need to come here and draw again. I want what you got. That's it. You done sold it to me. I'm
Come on
done.
now. Yeah.
I'm done. Case closed.
Yeah.
I want this.
Come on.
Has anybody ever felt that way before?
Come on now.
I want this water. I want what you got here. If what you got is good as you say it is, I want it. If you get satisfied and I don't have to come back here, I want it. Now, you got to think of where she was, not just geographically, but spiritually. She was in her sixth relationship that had not worked. She was an outcast of the city because she didn't feel welcome enough to come with everybody else when they normally would come and draw water. So she's living a life sort of like a loner, looking for love in all the wrong places and couldn't find it. Oh, if you can change this for me, I want it.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Come on.
If you can satisfy my hunger, come on, bring it on.
Thank you, Lord God.
What happens next is baffling.
Yeah.
Jesus addresses her in a personal way. Go call your husband. What? Go call your husband. You did all that to ask me the very question I didn't want you to ask me. We was doing fine. We were going on this journey. Come on, y'all got quiet on me, but you know how it is. You're doing fine till you ask me about a husband. I ain't got no husband. I got bed partners.
Come on now.
Friends with benefits. I'm not a committed kind of man. I'm a player don't want to get married. Look at your husband. Husband, what's that? I know husband. I'm going to lose my man. I was doing some electrical work for a lady with my wife and daughter with me, man, and I said something. I forgot what I said. She said, I ain't picky. I'm picking dear Lord. One nigga likes so jacked up. I ain't picky. Might need to be a little picky. You're pregnant telling me you got to get a restraining order and you ain't picky? Am I right? Just a couple of weeks ago. I'm thinking maybe you need to stop being a little picky. A little picky won't hurt, amen? Come on, sisters, help me. Being a little picky ain't gonna hurt. I mean, come on now. Any old thing can't go running all up the hill. Come on, y'all help me out here. Gotta be a little picky now. Come on, I know you might be a little large, but come on, at least have a job, be a legal citizen, you know. Gotta be a little picky here. We need to talk. All right, that's enough. Jesus says, go get your husband. Go get your husband. Go get it. She said, I ain't got none. Now the truth comes out. Now the truth. When the old folks say tell the truth, they shame. They show ashamed. You got five. I never forget, I counseled a lady who was suicidal, came to our picnic. Drunk at that. Church loved on her. Y'all know who I'm talking about by now. She done had 5 husbands and met one at the bar and married him 2 weeks later. Wow. Jacked up. And he had 4. Me and my wife sitting here at the table trying to help them. What a mess. Exactly what it was. A mess. Mess. Jesus says, yeah, you said well. I have no husband because you gotta have 5. And the one you got now, so that means she's on a 6th relationship. That seems right, y'all. Can we count? Yeah. You had 5 and you got 1. That means 6, right? Yeah. Come on, am I counting right? Yeah. I did catch you, 8. That's 6. I educate y'all one way or another. 5 plus 1 is 6.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can say, yep, you're right. And the one you got now is not your husband. She opened up to Jesus only to get this.
Yeah. Amen.
And now Jesus speaks into her life. We know she's a thirsty woman. 5.
Amen.
And got 1 now.
Come on now.
Come on now, ladies. Got to turn my head in the street. That's thirsty.
Yeah.
Am I telling the truth? I just keep it real. Y'all don't like preaching like that. That's kind of thirsty. Thirsty. You're so thirsty that you are tripping. Now something happens though. There's no way anybody can know this but Jesus.
Come on now.
Or somebody in touch with Jesus.
Yeah.
So she gets spiritual. Y'all know how you get when you get showed up, you get all spiritual. You must be a prophet. I know it. You some kind of prophet, ain't you?
Come on now.
I know it. You're a prophet. Yeah. You didn't have all that perception before. How come you didn't perceive when he was talking about the water? You didn't perceive it when he told you to go get your husband. And you to come clean when you knew it. People are tripped.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're here. I perceive.
Yeah.
It's a good time to figure it out.
Amen.
You're a preacher, huh?
Amen.
You know, I don't tell them I'm a preacher until they just find out. Then I've been talking and saying things, oh, they're embarrassed by it. They find out I'm a preacher, oh Lord. I had one lady say, I got to clean up my jokes now. Honey, I know how to pray for you now. See, I don't run around with a big gold chain, a big Bible. I don't go around beating people up.
Yeah.
And you know, when you catch me, it ain't always playing how great thou art.
Amen. Amen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Jesus celebrated. They didn't play hymns as a celebration. Either way, that's another subject.
Amen.
I perceive you're a prophet.
Yeah.
She gets spiritual now.
Yeah.
She opened up to Jesus and allows Jesus to speak into her life. This is a Jew and a Samaritan, something that don't normally happen.
Yeah.
She flips the script right back. And she's not bothered by the fact he know her. And goes to worship.
Yeah.
She said, look, our fathers
Come on now.
worship
Yeah. Yes, sir.
in this mountain.
Come on.
I'm coming home now.
Thank you, Lord.
They worship in this mountain.
Yeah.
She right away went to what she knew of her fathers.
Yeah.
She couldn't say she was a worshiper.
Right.
Because he already know my story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to him. Our fathers worship
Yeah.
in this mountain. And y'all say, ye say, talk about the truths, that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
Yeah.
Which one is right? Because if I got to get it right, I need to know where to go.
Yeah.
She opens up to him now.
Yeah.
This is good, y'all. She evidently did not feel bothered by the way he read her rights to her.
Amen.
And read her life. There's some people, by the way y'all so spiritual put them, they don't want to talk to you no more. This woman is not bothered by anything Jesus has said, and now opens up the doorway for worship to change in her life.
Amen.
And look what happens.
Yeah.
Our fathers worship in this mountain. This is where I was trying to get you at all the while, lady.
Yeah.
You say that Jerusalem is the place where we ought to worship. Worship is how a man fashions his heart and mind to follow God and consider the instruction of the Bible. They kept them in right relation with God. It was not what we consider worship to be. Unless we rightly define worship, we are in trouble. Because we think when we lift our hands and the music is slowed down, we're in worship. That's not worship. That's just a song of worship. True worship, Jesus defines in two folds. Let me read this before I get to it. When the music stops, does it matter? We think when we lift our hands and cry a little bit and move to a song, and we got music that can frazzle our emotions to the point we move back and forth. But when the music stopped, it didn't matter at all. Because all that worship activity she's talking about in the mountain Jesus is about to give his opinion on it. If we're not careful too, what we think matters don't matter. While we've made such a great deal, we have the instruments, the singers that sing so great, leading us in what we brag about now as worship. And now some churches have emphasized worship above the word and the reading of the word of God and the preaching of the gospel. Jesus said the hour coming now is for true worshipers. Please give me a few more minutes. True worshipers. This is it, y'all. This is not dress code. This is not outward experience. This is heart experience. And it's twofold. He said the true worshipers are going to come and they're going to worship in spirit and in truth. That's what the Father seeks now. God is a spirit. And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. It is what Jesus says here that discredits what she held so dear. She was holding on to what the fathers did and what tradition had laid out before her. And some of us are so locked into what we traditionally call church and worship. God is trying to give us a redefined path. All of the activity we've encountered through the years, did it really matter? All of those times of praying through, did it really matter? All of those times of all of that gospel preaching we heard. All that high-spirited worship. When it stopped, did it really matter? Because I'm telling you, after you do all that, folks, we were in church service that was all night. Anybody been there with me? We were in the Pentecostal church. They had church all night and was still no more different to their husband or their wife when they got out. Wow. Real worship teach you how to talk to your husband. Real worship teach you how to love your wife. Wow. Real worship teach you how to be an obedient child. Real worship teaches you how to submit to one another. All that activity did nothing. The Lord said, I will come in for true worshipers. He's saying literally to her without saying it, all of that stuff is useless. True worshipers are coming. So if he's saying true is coming, the false is represented. You see it indirectly now. Spirit and truth, both had major issues. The Jews had major issues. Their worship was perverted. You know it was. Jesus got to church and had to tear it up. He had to get a whip and beat them out of it. He said, my house should be a house of prayer. They were up in the mountain doing their thing. They were downtown doing their thing. He had to show up in the wilderness with John the Baptist. The Bible said in Titus chapter 3 and verse 5, I'm getting ready to close. Not by works of righteousness we have done, but according to his mercy he saved us. It's nothing you did to get saved, nothing you did to stay saved, but by the washing and regeneration and renewing of the Holy Ghost. Fathers, hear me as I close. You represent a generation of folks who leave an example. This woman was holding on to the example of the previous generation. And the next generation is going to do exactly what you did and call it worship. Jesus says the time for true worship is going to come. I want to ask a question. The truth of this matter is we must do it God's way. What good is the wood and the fire and the knife if we don't have a sacrifice? Abraham is going up with Isaac. And he looks at his father and says, look, man, I see the fire. I see the wood. But where's the lamb for a burnt offering? What good is our worship if we don't have everything we need? What good is an offering if God won't accept it? In Psalms 51 and 16, he says, for thou desirest not sacrifices, I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offerings. If he did, I'd give it. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit and a contrite heart. What good is it all when there's no commitment? Samuel says, look, the Lord had no delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as he has in obeying the voice of the Lord. To obey is better than sacrifice. It's better. Some of y'all give good offerings that keep this church going. But I'm telling you, as much as we need your financial support, there is no way that's going to trump your living right and holiness before God. The Lord said in Isaiah 1 and 11, what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I'm full of these burnt offerings. I'm full of your clapping, your singing, your dancing, your praying through. I'm full of all of that stuff. But what I don't have is you.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't have you. I got a good show. Ain't that what the church is now? A good show, lights, camera, action.
Wow.
We put on a show. Some of us tired of this show. Ringling and Brothers closed down. And I told them, the show will go on.
Yeah.
The show must go on. Ain't that right? I can take you to a good show right after we get out of here. Just getting started. A big show. And if we're not careful, what we're doing in here will become. You weren't expecting that, would you?
Wow.
God, keep me from being a show.
Yes, Lord.
Keep me from being a show.
Yes, Lord.
Amos 5:23 says, take away from me the noise of your songs. I don't want to hear the melody of your vibes. But let judgment run down. Do the right thing.
Come on now.
Keep your song. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Live right. Let judgment run down as a water and righteousness as a mighty stream.
Yes, Lord.
In my conclusion, I want to say to you, when the music stops, did it really matter at all? Your life is like a song that's being played. When the song of your life stops, we got to reflect on your song. Did it matter at all that you was a Christian? Did it matter at all that you gave yourself to God? I want to give you the opportunity the Lord gives all. Come. Let's reason together. Let's talk about it. Come unto me. Come now. Let's reason together. You're sinful. That's all right. I make provision for your sin. Stand to your feet. I make provisions for your sin. Come, let's reason. I want to pray for you right now. Hallelujah. Magnify the Lord. Hallelujah. I need my singer. I want to burn for you. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Consume me, oh Lord. Father, we come now thanking you for exposure. Father, thank you that you would draw us to that place where we can open up and be honest with you and come and reason, Lord. I thank you that you do not in your judgment just trump down on us, Lord, but you give us these opportunities to get it right. And for someone here today, this is your opportunity. Might be your last, I do not know. But I know you have a window of opportunity to come before the Savior and repent. He said, though your sin be as scarlet, I will wash you. I will make them whiter than snow. Father, I thank you for your word. And I pray your grace upon you people. I pray that the holy fire of God would fall afresh, that our lives would be transformed, that our lives would be better. There's someone here who do not know you. I pray that they would not be settled in their spirit until they come like that woman and get a drink of that living water. Father, if there's any here that is sick and afflicted, touch their body. Heal and deliver them in the name of Jesus. Touch that child. Maybe there's somebody strung out on drugs like Albert and Andrew and Brother Arthur and Brother Keith, Brother Dave and others in this room who you have redeemed by your great power, who in our own strength could not do nothing. Tried it and couldn't, failed every time, twice on Sunday. But after we got a drink of the living water, oh, we've been sober and straight for so long, it shocks others, but we believe in you and know, come see a man. We're now saying, come see a man. Come see a man. Maybe somebody here need to meet that man. His name is Jesus. And if you would confess with your mouth and believe with your heart, Jesus died for your sins, rose from the dead, you can be saved. Thank you. We believe Thank you, Lord. I pray, Lord, that our worship will be real. And at the end of the day, when the music stops, it will matter. It will matter. In Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. You may be seated. Give God a hand clap of praise. Hallelujah. Glory to God. It is so good to see each and every one. Happy Father's Day to every father. I love you. God bless you. I hope they shower you with all kinds of good things today. This is your day. You deserve it. We need fathers. As I was talking to my father this morning, I said, Dad, if you was here, there's no doubt you would be preaching. This is a day I would love to hear from our fathers, our ancient fathers. Our fathers are slowly, we're losing our fathers. You know why? Because the time has come that sons become fathers. And fathers, father sons. Some of you are sons are becoming fathers. I've literally watched some of you grow up now and you have children of your own. And you have to father them. You have to nurture them. And you have to do what God has commanded you to do as a father. God didn't command the children's church to raise the children. He commanded fathers to take the role of fathers in their home and teach their children. God bless you. If you're here for the first time, God bless you. So good to have you. Sister Gwen is a cousin from New Jersey, right? God bless you. Good to have her from New Jersey. Amen. Praise the Lord. God bless you. Asia, it's so good to see you, honey.